Hi there, my name's Ben with You Need a Budget, and today we're talking about credit cards. Credit cards in YNAB, how to add them, how to spend with them, how to pay them off, all kinds of credity things. Now, if you're brand new to YNAB and you're still just trying to figure out how the app works, I would actually recommend that you check out the video I made on creating your budget in YNAB. I go over some credit card basics there, but I also go over kind of everything you need to know to make the app work well for you. And if you're someone who has a very specific question about credit cards, this video is timestamped, so you can skim through the timestamps at the bottom of this video and skip to the section that's most relevant to you. Let's start by adding my credit card to YNAB. So I'm gonna come over here to Add Account, and I have the option for a linked or an unlinked account. Now, a linked account is where I enter my credit card login, and now whenever a transaction pops up in my credit card, it is going to pop up in YNAB so that I can categorize it and slot it into my plan. So that's pretty neat, but if you'd rather not deal with all that, you can just do an unlinked account where you just do it all yourself. You wanna set that as a credit card and then type in your cleared balance. Make sure you're not factoring in any pending transactions. Now, if you are carrying a balance, which you most likely are, then YNAB is gonna ask how you want to pay that down. Later, I'll show you how to handle a card that you're already paying in full, but let's assume here that I need to pay off this balance over time. If I hit next, I can see a couple calculators that I can use to come up with a plan for paying down my card. So for instance, let's say I want to pay off this card by December of next year. If I put that in, I can see exactly how much it's going to cost a month for me to hit that target. Now, an important thing to realize is that this is only focused on paying down this number. We're not factoring in interest. We're not factoring in any other spending you're gonna do on the credit card. I promise we're gonna get to those things, but that's important to know. We're only focusing on paying down this number when we're doing these calculators. The other way you can do it is to simply enter an amount you wanna send specifically towards debt pay down, and then it will tell you how long it's gonna take you to pay that off. So let's go with this 50 bucks a month. All right, so I see that pops up in YNAB. I see over here that I owe $1,000. That's why that number is negative. If I go to my budget, I can now see that I have a category group called credit card payments that's automatically been made. And I have a category for my Visa credit card payment. And look at that, it even has my target of sending 50 bucks a month towards debt pay down. That's pretty neat. Now, before we get into credit card spending, it's very important that you understand the difference between this number and this number. This number over here, that is your credit card balance. That is the total amount that you owe the credit card right now. This number over here, that is your credit card payment. That is how much money you have set aside to send to your credit card next time you send them a payment. Ideally, we're gonna get to a place where this number and this number match, because then that means we're paying off this card in full. We're not getting any more interest or debt or anything like that. But we're assuming that's not the case right now. So let's talk about how to spend on a credit card. Now, you might be wondering if you should spend on a credit card that you're also trying to pay down. And really, that's up to you. That depends on your relationship with your credit card and how you want to approach this whole thing. But the nice thing is that YNAB is specifically designed to prevent you from going into more debt, even if you are using a credit card that you're also trying to pay down. And that's because YNAB does not view your credit card as a debt tool. It doesn't think of it as a way to spend money you can't actually afford to spend. Instead, YNAB transforms your credit card into a debit card with benefits. When I spend on a credit card using YNAB, I am getting all the benefits of my credit card, my rewards and my fraud protection and all that, but I'm actively being prevented from going into debt. And that's because YNAB assumes that when you make a spending decision, you're not looking at your credit limit to figure out how much you can spend. You're looking at your categories. So if I'm going to the grocery store today, I'm not gonna look at my credit card. I'm gonna look at how much money is sitting in my groceries category right now. I assigned $400 for the whole month, so that's the limit of what I have to spend at the grocery store. So then, if I go to the grocery store, I can enter that transaction. Let's say we spend 100. Let's see what happens. So you'll notice that my balance has gone up by $100. Let's see what happens in the budget. Okay, I've got $100 sitting in my payment category. Where did that come from? Well, when I swiped my Visa or inserted it or tapped it or mind melded it, or when I used my Visa at the grocery store, YNAB noticed. It said, oh, Ben is borrowing money from Visa and he needs to pay them back. It always assumes that you don't want to go into debt. So what YNAB did is it just took $100 out of my groceries category and moved that right up to my payment category, so that the next time I pay Visa, I already have that grocery spending covered. If you put it in on your mobile device, you can actually see it happening. So if I do the same transaction, $100 at Dylan's, coming out of my groceries category, want to make sure that's coming out of my Visa account. If I hit save, I can see that $100 going from my groceries category to my Visa payment category. And notice, according to my grocery category, this looks exactly the same as if I'd done it on a debit card. As far as this category is concerned, I've spent $100. The only difference is instead of that money just leaving my bank account, YNAB has put it up here so that it's set aside next time I need to pay. YNAB doesn't care what method of payment you're using. It only cares that you're following your plan. And this is how YNAB prevents you from going into debt with a credit card, by always moving that money up into your payment category so that the next time you pay, you're covered for all the spending you've done. So now I'm going to talk about how to do a credit card payment in YNAB, but before I do, I want to point something out. If I pay this $100 toward my Visa, what's going to happen? Well, it's going to knock my balance back to 1,000, right where I started when I added it to YNAB. YNAB has prevented me from going into more debt. And if I keep doing it this way, I'm going to keep that balance right at 1,000 pretty consistently. But that's not my goal, right? My goal is to actually pay this balance down, to watch this number go below 1,000. In order to do that, I need to assign extra dollars to that category. And because I haven't yet, YNAB has turned this category yellow. Yellow means that I have not yet assigned enough dollars to meet my target for that category. And in this case, I need to assign $50 toward my debt paydown in order to turn that category green. So I'm gonna find somewhere in my budget where I can pull money. I'm gonna pull out of dining out. And I'm gonna add that to my Visa category. And now we see that I've reached my target. That category is green. And let's watch what happens when I make my payment. So I'm going to go to my Visa category, hit record payment. I tell YNAB what bank account this is coming from, and you see it automatically slots in however much money I currently have sitting in that credit card payment category. So I've hit save. Okay, what happened? We started at 1,000. We spent $100 on groceries. That bumped us up to 1,100, but YNAB covered that for us by moving that money out of our groceries category. And then we assigned an additional $50 to knock this from $1,100 down to $950. If you're making your payment from a mobile device, then all you need to do is hold down your credit card payment category, hit record payment, then punch in your payment, choose your bank from the transfer accounts option, and you're not going to need a category, so you can just save it. And you'll see that money has now left my Visa payment category. If I go to accounts, we'll see now that my Visa account has gone down by $150. Pretty slick. So I've not only prevented more debt, but I've also started to pay down that balance so that I can move toward being debt free. Now I can hear you out there, but Ben, what about interest? That's a huge part of having a credit card for a lot of us, and you're not even covering it. Well, don't worry. There's a pretty simple solution to dealing with interest. We just recommend that you treat your monthly interest charge like another monthly bill. So just like any monthly bill, you want to have a category assigned to that specific expense, and you want to assign dollars to that category based on what you think you need. So you'll see I have an interest and fees category here in my budget. Now, to figure out how much I should assign to this category, what I would do is look at my last credit card statement and see what I was charged in interest then, and just kind of ballpark it from there. So for instance, let's say I was charged like $22 last time and my balance hasn't changed too dramatically. So then I want to assign, let's say $25 to this category. So I'm going to pull that from somewhere else, slot that in there. And now when it comes time for my interest to be charged, that's going to come in just like a normal transaction. I'm going to assign that to my interest and fees category. Let's say I was charged 23 this time. And now if we look at my interest and fees category, we can see $23 has hopped out of that category up into the credit card payment category. And now the next time I make a payment, I'm not only covering my credit card spending and paying down my debt, but I'm also covering that interest that I was charged. And that's it. Just treat your interest like another monthly bill. All right, so we've seen YNAB move money from one category into our credit card payment category. But what happens if we wind up overspending in a category using our credit card? So I went ahead and got rid of that interest charge just so you could see exactly what's happening here in the payment category. Let's say that I go to the fun store, and I buy a board game and it's $20. Now, what I would normally expect to see is that after I make this payment, YNAB would have $20 sitting in my payment category, pulling that from my gaming category. So let's see what happens. Okay, already something looks off. If I click over to the budget, okay, I spent $20, but I've only got $10 in my payment. Why is that? Well, it's because YNAB, again, assumes I'm trying to stick to my plan. And my plan for July was to only spend $10 on gaming. So that's what I assigned there. So YNAB took the $10 I had available and put that toward my payment, but I spent $20. That means there are $10 here that are unaccounted for. And I get this little spaghetti-o credit card symbol here. What this symbol means is that if I don't cover this overspending, I'm gonna create new debt. Because remember, we were at $950 before. We spent $20 on that game, so now we're at $970. If I pay what's in my payment category, that's not taking me down to $950. That's only taking me down to $960. My balance has just crept up by $10. So in order to make sure that doesn't happen to me, all I need to do is click this category and find something that matters to me less than buying that game. Let's take some money from Fun Money. And now watch what happens to my gaming category. Now you can see this is at 0. And that $5 has hopped right up to our payment category so that now if I pay this $15, I'm right back to $950 where I was before. No new debt. So if you overspend in a category with a credit card, treat it exactly like you would if you overspent with your debit card. Cover it with another category and move on. All right, I'm gonna touch on refunds and rewards here in just a minute, but before I do wanna show you how to set up a card if you are already paying your card in full. Good news for you, it's pretty simple. So if I go over here to add account, again, just like before, I'm gonna set up as a credit card, make sure this is my cleared balance if I'm doing an unlinked. And now, if I'm gonna pay this card off in full, if I already have the money and the plan to do that, I'm just gonna hit cover my entire balance. And just like before, we got that negative number over here in accounts. If I go to my budget, I now have a payment category for that. The only difference here is that when I look at my target is whatever my balance is. So I just find somewhere in my budget to pull that money from. Let's take it out of vacation. And if I assign that money, we can see now that card is gonna be paid in full because this number, my payment number, matches my balance. You can get a nice little encouraging message from YNAB over here. And what's really nice is once I actually do that, once I assign dollars to cover my initial starting balance, I never have to assign dollars there again. It's just gonna be YNAB moving money from my spending up into that category. So now let's look at credit card rewards. YNAB doesn't track things like airline miles or hotel points, but if you get cash back on your credit card, then we can track that in the app. The short version of this is that you're gonna put that cash back into the appropriate account, categorize it as ready to assign, and make sure it's an inflow. So if your credit card deposits cash back directly into your checking account, you're gonna put that in as a transaction, right in your checking account, and just make sure that's an inflow. So we just got $20, we see our balance goes up by 20, and we now have $20 ready to assign at the top of our budget. Now, a lot of credit cards, what they do instead is they just give you a credit towards your credit card account. So for that, you're gonna go into your actual credit card account and do the exact same thing as if you had gotten this money in your checking account. Ready to assign, mark it as an inflow. You'll see that our balance has gone down by $20. The big difference is that now we don't have any money up here and ready to assign. That might be a little confusing, but if you think about it, it makes sense. Visa didn't hand you $20 to dole out to your budget. It instead said you owe us 20 fewer dollars. So when you get cash back that you put in your Visa account, you're gonna see your balance go down, but you're not gonna get any dollars to assign like you did when they deposited money into your checking account. Now, the one place where this can get a little funky is if you're currently paying your card in full. So let's go to that Discover card. I've got $100 in my payment category, $100 balance, so I'm matching, right? But then let's say I get cash back. So again, I put that as ready to assign and $20 inflow. We see my balance goes down by 20, just like I expected. But now I have a weird issue. I still have $100 in my payment category. The amount I have set aside to pay is more than the actual amount I owe. That's weird. All I'm gonna do then is just move that into another category or into ready to assign so that those numbers match again. So there you go. If you ever have a payment that is higher than your balance, just move the difference to another category and get those numbers matching again. And that's how you deal with cash back. Finally, let's touch briefly on refunds. Let's take an example where I have spent $50 at the hardware store, and let's assume this is the only spending I've done on this credit card recently. So I've got $50 available in my payment category for that Visa, and you'll see that that $50 has come out of my miscellaneous house items category. Now, let's say that I decide I don't want that thing anymore, so I return it and I get a refund. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna enter that exact same transaction. So this is going into my miscellaneous house items category, not my ready to assign category. The only difference is I'm gonna put it as an inflow. So what we see is these two things are gonna cancel each other out. If I go back to my budget, I've got $0 now available for my payment because I no longer owe that $50. And that $50 went right back into my miscellaneous house items category. So it's like I just undid that purchase. Now, this works really well if you have paid for something and then gotten your refund before making your next credit card payment. But if you've paid for something, then paid your credit card, then gotten a refund, it gets a little trickier. So rather than walk you through every possible scenario here, what I'm gonna do is just point you to the help docs that we have right here in the app. You can look up credit card refund, and that document is gonna walk you through exactly what you need to do to be able to navigate your situation and get everything back to normal. And by the way, everything that we've talked about in this video and more is available right here in this help doc place. So if you ever have a question, you can always look there, or you can send a message or start a live chat with one of our lovely support team people, get a little one-on-one help so that you can get things back and rolling. And that's pretty much everything you need to know to be able to wrangle credit cards in YNAB. Now, this video has been pretty mechanical in the sense of like, here's how these things work in the app, but maybe you're here because you've got credit card debt and you don't want to have credit card debt anymore. Well, if that's you, then I'd highly recommend you check out our video course on how to get out of debt and stay out. It's a little over an hour long, and we walk you step by step through how to create an effective and sustainable debt paydown plan. Now, if you don't have time for that right now, I'll give you the short version of it. Your first step is going to be to list all of your debts with their balances and their minimum payments. So your credit card, your auto loan, your car loan, all that stuff. Once you've got that list, you want to make sure that you have a plan for your monthly expenses. In other words, make sure you have a budget in YNAB. Now again, if you're brand new to that and you need help, go check out our video on creating your budget in YNAB, and maybe also check out our video on learning the 4 rules so you can get more of an idea of the mindset that we have behind the app. Once you've created that plan for your monthly expenses, you want to look at your non-monthly expenses. What are those things that tend to put you back into debt, that make you reach for a credit card? Things like car repairs or medical bills or replacing your laptop or whatever it might be. You want to save for those things because you could pay a bunch of money down on your debt and then your fridge breaks and you go right back into debt. You don't want that. So start by building a debt prevention plan by saving up money for those non-monthly expenses in your budget. Once you've got a solid debt prevention plan, then whatever money you have left over, you can start throwing towards one specific debt. Now, we recommend the debt snowball method, where you start with your smallest balance and you throw all the extra money that you want to put towards debt at that specific debt, while of course making minimum payments on all of your other debts. Once that smallest debt is knocked out, you take all the money you had going towards that debt and put it onto your next smallest debt until it's knocked out. And you go on and on like that, with your payments getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and your progress getting faster and faster and faster. If you'd like some support with your debt paydown plan, then consider joining one of our debt boot camps, where YNAB teachers will teach you effective methods for paying down debt, and you'll be working with a community of people who are all striving for the same thing. And by the way, the video course and the debt boot camp, that's all totally free. In the meantime, if you need help with any other YNAB issues, you can take a look around our YouTube channel. We got loads of content on budgets, YNAB, personal finance, or you could come to one of our live Q&A sessions where you can actually ask questions directly to a YNAB expert. Or if you have a problem that you just need help solving, reach out to our support team and they will get you squared away. Whatever your relationship with credit cards or debt or money, YNAB is here to help. I hope this video has been helpful for you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.